all in my life in HR for about almost 30 years now. The business have transformed a lot. So the space of HR has transformed from a backend mostly to a forefront. Perhaps I might have worked in more than 7 different sectors in the region, starting from retail to manufacturing to the finance to the trading, shipping, and then pharmaceuticals. And this is the learning part. So every industry sector has its own unique characteristics. So you need to unlearn.
Skills or degree? What's your preference? Today's conversation at Exceptional Unplugged is a special one. Someone who has seen the entire talent landscape change for over 30 years in Middle East. He's worked across multiple different sectors, from manufacturing to logistics, shipping, retail, and now in one of the largest pharmaceutical giants in the region. We have with us an exceptional leader who's leading the entire HR function for one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the region. Welcome, Gopa Kumar, for Exceptional Unplugged.
Thank you very much, Rajat. And that's a great privilege to have you invited me for this session. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
And I really look forward for a very nice, fun-filled discussion there.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thanks a lot.
You have started your journey from 1990s, if I'm not mistaken. You have been doing that in the region. What would you say has changed from an HR perspective in the last 30 years that you have seen, right from your manufacturing days to now leading one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the region, pharmaceutical manufacturing companies in the region?
Well, all in my life in HR for about almost 30 years now.
Right.
The business have transformed a lot. Mm-hmm. The conventional style at which the business used to be driven perhaps 20 plus years back. Mm-hmm. And how you look at it now with completely different business strategies, AIs, so on and so forth. The HR has got a tremendous involvement working along with the business. Usually, if I say with around 20 plus years back, if I look at when I started with the career, that was more limited to a personal administration kind of a scope. And it has now moved from an administration to an influential space. So the space of HR has transformed from a backend mostly to a forefront. Even before you start up a business, what kind of a talent do you need to target to get your business to a success? Mm-hmm. So that transformation of HR has brought the real leaders of HR in the forefront, walk along with the business, or even in some of the cases, walk in front of the business. So that's a major transition which I have seen, especially in this part of the world, which is every day is a new change.
Of course.
Definitely, that's a huge transformation which I could experience in my professional life.
So would you have to unlearn a lot of things that you have picked up over a number of years? What would that be?
Definitely. Every industry has its own unique characteristics. Mm-hmm. So something which perhaps I might have worked in more than 7 different sectors in the region, starting from retail to manufacturing to the finance to the trading, shipping, and then pharmaceuticals.
Of course.
So I can, from that, what I have experienced, I can definitely share with you. What was good in a certain industry is not going to work out for another industry. And this is the unlearning part. So every industry sector has its own unique characteristics. So it's something like you need to understand, blend that with your business priorities and then define your HR strategies. So the unlearning part is what has worked for you in a particular sector. If you try to copy or implement that in a new sector, most often I have seen it turning out to be a disaster. So you need to unlearn. Just don't try to take over to a different sector by copying, unlearn it. Try to understand the industry characteristics. How does it work? And then shape your strategy there.
So you have the cookie cutter approach of using one thing and trying to implement the same thing in the other. It hasn't worked. I know you're an adventure enthusiast. You love your motorbike and off-roads and trips like that. Combine that with that experience. Help me understand how does this go in the corporate side of things? Give me an example of from your off-road experience and how this will function in the industry side.
Well, I'm happy to share that I'm an adventure sport lover.
Yeah.
And well, I've been into off-roading for now more than 20 years. Perhaps that's one passion which kept me holding back here in this region.
This is bikes, or we're talking about the
4x4, and also have a passion
What do you
for
drive?
speed.
What do you drive?
I drive a FJ Cruiser manual.
Okay,
Okay,
lovely.
so the off-road adventure is all about expecting the most unexpected. Okay, because
Expecting the most unexpected. Okay.
Okay, so this is all about you venture into the dunes, which is unpredictable. It keeps changing according to different natural factors. So you don't have a road layout there.
Of course not.
It's more about situational leadership, where you will assess the situation, assess your capabilities, and who are following you, trusting your lead. Accordingly, you need to take a track for them so that they will do it safely. So that's a responsibility on you. Along with that, you have your fun. You are navigating the hurdles and challenges, and your destination is already, this is my target where I need to reach. And most of the time, you race against the time. Before it gets dark sometimes, of course, we drive at night even, but
Yeah, of
when the
course.
convoy is following, we need to take them to a safe place before it gets dark. So all these factors has got a lot of similarities in your official life there. Where you navigate with the challenges, you will face issues, and sometimes you will face even disasters. So it's not about getting into that problem, how good you recover out of it. So that's a backup plan, or maybe there is a plan B in place. It's all nothing but in a professional world, we call it as a strategy, or maybe a plan B there in place. So you make sure that your target is not missed, and cars which are following you are reaching to your target along with you with no damages. So that's a responsibility you do. End of the day, it's all applauses and appreciations.
So as an HR leader, you're trying to get the direction set for the talent to follow and adapt to the changing needs of what the organization needs. And you worked across different organizations, right? From private sector to publicly held to semi-government kind of organizations. So how is it different from each organization? Can you just elaborate on that front as well?
Well, I can summarize that in a way saying that people leave the organization for the experience what they have, not for because of the policies. Okay, so where the people stay back is about when they get the chance to experience consistently fair experiences. So irrespective of the industry, wherein you have, which is usually governed by business priorities and policies and requirements, it's all fair, which people understand, they follow. If there is a proper mechanism to explain why it is required or how does it require. But the underlying fact is, if they don't experience that fairness consistently, people are not going to stay back with you, no matter what. So it's all about being transparent, being open with the people to realize how they are linked to the business, why it is being experienced to them, is making the leadership more visible to them, that they don't go by their words, but they live with what they say. People start believing, people start trusting, and they stay with you, help you to transform any business.
Interesting. And has that changed in the last 3 decades? You've been in part of this beautiful place, and of course UAE, where it's home to all of us. Has that changed in the last 3 decades with new set of talent in the new generation? Or do you see that that's same throughout?
Well, that fundamentals, I believe, has not changed. It's one of the basic essentialities of human in a professional world. That has not changed. But organization to organization, of course, it will be different. The intensity can go up, intensity can be down. Somewhere it is such a value and somewhere it's an optional. So that variance I have seen in different industries, in different sectors, and also owing to the different time frames. When the recession was hit, sometimes most of the things were just dropped into a basket. Now that we will take up later, now it's a question of survival. So those influencing factors have been a lot, but the fundamental, I don't believe that has changed a lot. The great voted employers, I have seen them, practicing that very intensely. So I believe, in my opinion, no, it hasn't changed. It remains the same.
You mentioned about certain interesting aspects of during the COVID times, or when the business is also turning around or looking at a different kind of growth scale. How do you manage from a human standpoint, from an HR standpoint, how do you manage the pressure that is existing, in those turnarounds? How do you rebuild the morale of the business and the people? And you've had such organizations, Falcon, I know that you tried rebuilding completely, but how do you manage the morale of the people in those tough times, or really the pressure building times?
Well, the morale meter going down will come to a stop when uncertainty comes to an end. Okay, so where there is an uncertainty, definitely there is no morale. It will generate gaps, and usually gaps are being filled by speculations and rumors, and it actually accelerate the morale going down further. So it's all about sometimes expressing the hard truth in a very bold way, making your team to understand that where we are and what is being required. You need to set the examples there, not that you just preach the words, but you lead by examples. Take very calculative decisions, and at the same time, you should be able to explain the decisions to the team. Very small wins, which actually emphasize what you have been aiming for towards to your final objective. That starts gaining confidence in the team or with your workforce that, look, this is something which is what the leadership is viewing. They are aiming towards that. They are consistently achieving. And this helps to build the morale. I don't believe like a PowerPoint charts, some town halls or certain speeches to the people, some slogans. These are all nice to have, good to have. People will listen, and after some time, again, their mind will be completely busy with a lot of uncertainty. Of course, you cannot tackle the uncertainty because sometimes it's about the future. So being consistent with a clear plan, with transparency, and you always make sure that you march towards to it with very measurable steps, gain successes, and you celebrate that. So this brings up the morale there in the people, and that was the success story during COVID. It was a crisis because when it was first launched, I recollect people have no idea what is going to happen tomorrow. And how even we cannot assure that, hey, nothing to worry. After 6 months, everything is going to be all right. You are going to be questioned. Your credibility will be at question. So you need to live with that face with the team, giving them the assurance what you can do within your limits. How are we going to tackle it? What kind of precautionary measures are done? And at that point of time, I was with the pharmaceutical. So there was a very noble reason that we are in existence to save human lives. So that's a different dimension to the job, what you're doing to keep the people, the moral spirit up. Hey, I am a life warrior there. I'm fighting for the human life. So I make sure I take the risk. I come every day for the life to manufacture medicine to save the human lives. So that actually oversees the kind of being moral down or worrying part. People were so motivated to just come for that. Look, we are that one small group of people who are working when everyone has the privilege of being at homes and working from homes.
One question, since you've been there 30 years, and that's not a small period of time, if you were to just go back some time ago, maybe that time from again, you have to tell a younger version of yourself, that in order to achieve that success and leadership, reach that leadership ability, what you have to do quickly to achieve that success, or what you have to do in the right way, what would that be, to that younger Gopa?
Well, I can see myself there. I was just, you made me to walk back when I started somewhere in 1996 in a sugar factory. Mm-hmm. The time cards, when the workers come, it was 3,000 workers. You collect the time cards, you insert in a machine, the punching machine it is called. Yeah. It creates a sound of a dot matrix, give it back to them. Okay, so that was the role of an HR at that point of time. And from there where we are, you really took me to a quick run through with all those phases which I've gone through. So if I need to give an advice or share a piece of my experience to any generation, I will say, you need to understand your business first. It's not about being as a backend HR or doing as an employee services is not the new requirement there. You are a business enabler. So you need to be knowing the business, and you need to understand that an HR function is all about enabling the business in different means of it. And one element for that is your talent, your resources, how you attract, how you retain, how do you motivate, how do you develop. But end of the day, the processes in HR should be as fast as the business. You cannot hold your processes back, making maybe the most sophisticated, but it does not serve the business, then the function does not add any value to it. So to know this, you need to be part of the business. It's not that mostly I've seen many young HR leaders coming there, oh, that's a job of a business part. We are there only to manage the people. So never fall to that track. Get into the business first. You should know the business so that you can form your HR strategies with a focus of how to enable the business. So you're a business enabler. You're not a business support function. This will be a one-line tag which I will give to any junior HR professional who would like to take up with.
So you think with the advent of the digital technology, AI and things like that, has that business enablement going to increase with the next gen of the HR leaders? That they have a lot of things that are already taken care of and the only focus is now just align with the business. Is that what you're seeing on the ground as well?
Definitely. AI has changed a lot of perceptions there. And I very truly believe AI has made the life of several business leaders entirely different in the way it has speeded up the decisions, which more accurate and timely, I will say, data or informations, which helps a lot in the decision-making part. But to my inner self, what I really believe, AI, of course, has a significant importance there or relevance in making in accelerating the processes, qualities, so on and so forth. But what I really believe in that, the leaders, they should be in a situation to explain the decisions, which they will be the decision making, and of course AI will support the decision making. They should be in a situation to the business and to the people to explain the decision rather than hiding behind algorithms. So AI has its own importance, but it is certainly limited. But when it comes to an HR aspect of managing with the people, it's not about AI. It's not that the system has generated, that doesn't work. It's about your decisions. A leader should be able to communicate. The leader should be able to explain. It's not because my system is saying, so this is what it is. So that never works. So AI has a limitation when it comes to people. So it's again, that human element is very important. But of course, it helps the new gen of utilization of AI helps a lot.
So Gopa, you worked with a lot of industry. Shipping is another one that you had in the middle of your journey with API. API, right? That was APL.
American Personal Lines.
So there, the logistics industry, you need to be the time, the efficiencies and things like that have to be very, it has to be on the point. How have you kind of built that in the organization, especially in terms of talent acquisition and talent development?
Well, logistics is one of a very sharp-cutting industry there.
Of course.
Every second matters there. And I recollect that with an HR philosophy, we used to have certain sessions with our business leaders. Look at HR also from a logistic point of view. Mm-hmm. Your talent acquisition is as good as arranging your cargo. Okay? And wherein you have few or some high valuable cargo, which need to just immediately get shipped in within no time. That's your hiring needs then. Your route planning is what the operations do. Your vessel, which port it arrives and from where it reaches to where. That's basically your career planning, or even sometimes we call it as a leadership routing. Mm-hmm. And then it's all about the development opportunities. When you say that consolidation of your resource, that's where the box handling happens there in the port. Mm-hmm. So there used to be a lot of similarities. We used to say during the shipping life there, that has to do with the people. And then, well, from an HR aspect, driving on those different industries, taking as an example of logistics, it's always like a time-bound activity,
of course,
wherein you do not have much room for, I will say, trial and error. Okay, which comes all with a proper planning. Let me say, since your question was very specific on the talent acquisition, it's all about defining an SLAs. What do you need from the hiring manager? So what exactly you need to have for the business? So what kind of talent can deliver for you? What's your future? It's not only for today, where are you heading for? So this forms an SLA from a talent acquisition point of view. What kind of talent you want to inject to the organization to keep it driving? Then it's also about decision making. It's not only from HR. The hiring managers will always look perhaps for 100%. Even 99% sometimes is not an okay. So it's basically coaching the hiring managers that how to take a decision with 80 to 100%. Okay. Most of the times, the 100% never comes. There is nothing like a 100% in that. But as a hiring manager, usually you have that perception there in the mind that I always need the best, which is absolutely fine if you find it, but it is very difficult. So it's all about taking that calculative decision. What are those parameters which you will never compromise, and what you will value high, and how to take a decision within the 80 to 100 percentage. So this is what, from a talent acquisition, has accelerated our process, with constant monitoring and development plans were in place. So that's something which in the logistic industry and even in the other industry has helped a lot to speed up the HR functions there according to the pace of the business.
Has that changed in the last few years? Has there been any kind of developments?
I think it has accelerated much because the business dynamism has evolved a lot during the last couple of years. The pace at which the business operate has multiplied by times, I will say. So the need of support functions to cope up with the speed of the business has increased a lot. Some organizations have certainly struggled to cope up with that pace owing to the conventional methodologies, processes, and systems. So perhaps I will make a statement that it's high time that you will look into your supportive models there, how efficient you can restructure to the pace of the business requirements so that you can deliver within no time there. So it's all about getting the things done at the right time.
You would have had some brilliant stuff and brilliant people at leadership level, but sometimes they may not fit into the kind of organization culture that you were working for various reasons. How do you kind of manage that situation? Do you just let them go, or what's the philosophy that you will have for them?
Well, a cultural misfit is something from a talent acquisition you should always try to avoid. Having said that, eventually it may happen as well. It is not possible there. But every organization will have certain cultural traits. And when I purely wear the lens of a talent acquisition, we can always be near close to accuracy. You can predict about the kind of a culture what you're bringing from certain organization. If someone is being there for a long number of years, this is one way of assessing on that. But being precise to that, if you find about a misfit, it's about to understand the individual more. Definitely not about just letting them go quickly about it, to understand that gaps. Perhaps because culture is not something which people can feel or even to see that. So this could be in many cases I come across a situation that it's about not understanding that in its true sense. Intentions may be right. The capabilities will be very high. Their objectives are very clear, but there is a kind of a misalignment. With the performing person, if there is a problem with the cultural fit, that misunderstanding or misalignment is usually the reason. Evaluate into it. If that is being established, the gap is quite easy to address. But if it's more on the behavioral or on the personal side to see that, no, this is not something which is matching with the culture, I will say, don't take any chances. It's better to part the ways.
You've dealt with a lot of people, high performers, who wouldn't have aligned culturally, and you would have been from different organizations as well. You would have seen. What would you say to those kind of people? What should they work on, or how do you deal with those kind of people who are super performers but just haven't aligned well to the demands of the organization?
I think in any organization, if I can categorize what we call as a talent heat mapping, the high performers with a misfit culture is an issue there in any organization.
Of course.
And that's because of their high performance. Most of the things get compensated or the other way, but the impact, the unfavorable impact, what it creates in the organization is something which can be damaging as well. So performance is, of course, that's one element, but that does not reserve only to a certain individual, because I do not consider me as an irreplaceable resource. There could be 10 which is getting replaced, but the performance aspect alone does not help to cover up certain misfits, cultural differences over there. Those cultural fits has to be addressed definitely for the sake of the organization. As I said as an answer to your previous question, maybe there are different methodologies what need to be followed. As I said, I from what I have experienced, I can say mostly that's about certain disconnects, very minor disconnects, where HR can play a certain role there to do it. But if it is not the case, then it is a corrective action, and that has to happen there.
Would you take the more difficult route of going at the top level as well and letting the board know what are the things that are missing before hiring a certain person?
Well, we have established there certain behavioral traits which will, I will say, complement the cultures and values of the organization. So when it comes to an assessment stage, when we are hiring an individual, we are quite focused to assess on those behavioral traits which should be complementing our cultural values. So if there is a mismatch, we don't take any chances. Because then by the time the damage what is being created, it will take much more time to
to rectify that completely.
Exactly. And the business suffers and the people will suffer. So let's not take that chance. So in addition to the technical competencies, behavioral traits which are aligned with the organization cultural values is one of our most important priority where we do not compromise.
Do you see this in the next 10 years, in the region itself, and I'm specifically talking about the GCC region? Is that going to become stronger compared to the other regions in the world? Or what's your assessment on that?
I think it's definitely is going to, because GCC is one of the, I will say, the premium industries there where you might have seen it, what has been getting mobilized during the last 10 years. I think it's only going to accelerate despite the temporary tensions what's being going on currently. This is definitely going to accelerate it more. And, and then of course, the government authorities, the regulatory authorities, the way they are positioning themselves is much more, I will say, interesting for business houses to come and to do the business in this region. You're connected to all the industries there, and I'm sure that you will be having more insights on that. So I believe that, yes, it's definitely going to be higher in the coming 10 years for it. And perhaps even HR, even the business need to roll up their sleeves and get ready to brace that.
Oh, we are seeing that with a lot of industries, with a lot of companies that they are holding tight. No one is shifting bases. Everyone is looking forward to the next wave of digital and AI transformation, trying to adopt that. Yeah. And that's going to only increase. And of course, from a culture standpoint, I think it's pretty much unbeatable, the kind of organizations that you have worked in, and you've created that culture that's only going to get stronger.
Yeah.
Once you've reached that at the leadership level, what really becomes clear once you have reached at the top level after being there? What is it that thought comes to your mind from a leadership standpoint?
Well, the leadership roles has to be ever evolving. Mm-hmm. There is no such a final point. I'll say that this is the last and you be there. So because as the say goes, even if you're there on the right track, if you stay there, you get crushed. Mm-hmm. So the more when you go there, to the leadership role, you should be more agile. I remember that's how we started our discussion. You should be more open to unlearn the things.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not about having some kind of a perceptions which you try to implement there. This is what I heard. This is what I listened for. This is what I'm advised. Let me try to do that. Those kind of stereotypic approaches does not work. So you need to be more agile. You need to be more flexible, and you need to get into the depth of every topic there sometimes to understand the pulse. Go back to your own positions there and take the decisions what you need to have. So it's all about openness, agility, transparency, and then making the decisions and leave with your words. It's not only preaching, leave with your word.
What's harder for you, hiring the right person or letting go of people?
Of course, letting go of people. I'm human.
Yeah, that's something the AI is not going to do.
I'm not AI, so definitely that is letting go. But at the same time, on my other side, from my professional part, if it is required, there is no regrets.
And that links me to another factor of AI that you're talking about, empathy in AI. Do you see that as a challenge? It's not going to be coming through very quickly.
Empathy, now, the whole definition of empathy has changed with, we used to say earlier the excellence, empathy and excellence as a combination, it used to come there. Excellence is now the kind of an entry ticket. If you're not excellent in something, you're not going to be even there in an organization. Mm-hmm. So that's now been more of like taken as granted. If it is not there, then you are not there. Okay. Empathy with an AI scenario there now, I believe that the AI spectrum, which is quite a wide spectrum, where it about getting into perfections with the pace of the speed. I think it's again moving more towards to the leadership onto the empathy side. And it's all about linking that the human force with the workforce, and while keeping all the sentiments, cultures, value, principle there into consideration, which we are not expecting AI there to do it, which is a algorithm does not have any kind of an empathy. So that
not in the near future, we hope.
Yeah. So so that moves more onto the leadership shoulders. That's my viewpoint on it.
Great. Yeah, so we have covered the 30 years of your experience in a very summarized form, but time to move into a rapid fire question where I'm going to throw some volley of questions, and I want your unfiltered, unadulterated truth from your side. Yeah. So
I love that.
Please.
Let's go.
One thing from the people management in 90s that you wish has not been lost in the digital age.
Humanity.
Can you explain a little bit more?
Humane. That you get connected with the people, try to understand them more, and be on their shoes to take the decisions, which is not there in an AI world.
Well said. The most difficult change moment, management moment of your career.
Where I need to have an optimization of resource by more than 60%.
Optimization of resources, yeah, okay. Skills or degree, what's your preference?
Skills.
Okay.
It's my personal choice.
Predictive analytics, is it better to telling you who you are, or who you're supposed to hire, or who's about to quit? What do you prefer as a predictive analytics tool that's going to be there coming nowadays? Who you should hire, or who's going to move on from the organization? What would you prefer?
Who to hire, definitely. Because who to hire, of course, it's I'm not. I don't take my answer on that way that I don't care about leaving the people. But it's about when I bring somebody to the organization, it has a different dimension there.
Sure.
I am getting someone to build the future, not to fill a gap. Okay, so that for me is more critical than if I need to choose one among them. I'll go for hiring, rather than probably letting somebody go who I can. It's always there with more in my control. So bringing someone to build the future for me is very critical there for the business. If I need to choose one.
Which management book do you subscribe to, or you like really that you would want everyone to read on?
100 Days of a Manager.
5 essential concepts that every people manager should subscribe to or should follow all the time.
It all transparents from. It all starts from transparency, being honest.
Okay.
There should be the decision-making capabilities. Empathy, of course, when they are with the business. And the first, be with the people.
Okay, fair enough. You mentioned somewhere that the business understanding is very important. What is one thing that HR leaders miss out or don't pay so much of an attention on in the organization, which the CEO always talks about?
He'll focus on the P&L.
You think the HR people won't talk about
No,
that?
HR says P&L is not our responsibility.
Okay, that depends. I think you worked in tough organizations where,
in fact, that's usually always a core of the HR. I have come across always with the teams, sometimes shying away or hesitating to deal with the numbers. Because that's with the people. People will always speak about the compensations or even the changes, so on and so forth. Whereas it's quite important to get connected there with the business. So it's, there are people tend to be ignorant. I repeat the word tend to be ignorant. It's not that they do not know.
of course.
So that's why I meant to say by saying usually the P&L is never becomes a topic of discussion in the HR circle. We speak about people, we speak about developments, we speak about our future, AI, hiring, so on. What's your business is doing.
Ultimately, that's where it matters.
Exactly. And then so that's why I say P&L is sometimes difficult to induce in a discussion within the HR circle.
I get it. Workplace well-being, is it a perk or is it a productivity strategy in 2026?
It's a productivity strategy for sure. It's no more considered as a perk. It's being assumed that it's one of the basic essentials to have, even standing from a workforce point of view. definitely that should be a productive strategy, like make sure that your workplace well-being is taken care of if you need to really attract and retain talents.
What makes Gopa exceptional?
That's a tough question.
That you're supposed to answer in Exceptional Unplugged. There are lots of things, look, but I want you to talk about
Perhaps that's the reason. How do I choose one?
That's a good one. But name one or two.
Decision making. Why I say decision making is I do not hesitate to take the decisions. Okay, but of course, following all the principles of considering all the factors, analytics, data, blah blah blah. But I do not hesitate to stop from taking a decision making because I'm fully open to own the responsibility of it.
Do you regret sometimes that it has come back on a faster decision?
It's not about regretting because it's your decision. What is there to regret for it? But it's about, of course, most of the decision doesn't go well. But go back to your drawing board, try to analyze why it didn't work. Maybe you will even end up with a finding the process of decision making was wrong. No matter what, that's a learning. You're not going to repeat it next time. And that comes from the off-roading trades.
Off-roading trips, you have to take the decision making.
So I know the direction, I read the dunes, I go, and then I will land up in a pit.
Has it happened many times?
Oh yeah, a number of times. I don't remember how many number of bumpers I might have replaced in my car.
Oh God. So that's another cost that you have added.
Otherwise you follow the road, absolutely safe for you. The tracks are laid for you, you follow the track. So people sometimes find fun in accelerating in a properly laid road, crazy speeds. For us, there is nothing. Just find your own route, lay the path for others to follow.
Lovely. That's been a wonderful conversation, Gopa. Thank you so much for taking time out and having this conversation. We have come to know a lot about your other side of the stories and what really inspires you to bring the best in your corporate side. And it's fabulous. We'd love to see that continuing, growing, and hopefully another conversation in the near future with new skills added, with new Gopa Unplugged on this version. Thank you, Gopa. Thank you for taking time out and being here with us on Exceptional Unplugged, where we got to know a lot of unfiltered truth from your side, a lot of without any preparation things, and that helps us understand what makes Gopa so successful in the corporate world as well. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much.